last year in Cleveland. So what does it mean for stats in his first year in L.A.? How about 3 letters? MVP. Ron Butler is here to tell us how. Will Kawhi Leonard join King James in La La Land? That was the word a week ago, but right now it's about whether or not Kawhi is hiding out from the Spurs. Listen to this podcast and try to understand what's going on.
There was a point during his rehab process in New York that some of the Spurs brass went out to see him in New York. As soon as those guys arrived to the building, Kawhi's people grabbed him and sequestered him to another part of the building. So the Spurs people couldn't even see him.
Oh, man.
Now, come on. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, these are the types of things that are going on that people don't necessarily know about.
Oh, well, we hope you have the fever for the flavor. Welcome to Game Time. Chris Miles here with you. Tough Juice will be here in just a few minutes. First, let's welcome in Sam Amick from USA Today. This Kawhi saga keeps getting wackier by the day. Is the relationship between the Spurs and their star player just too far gone to repair?
Yeah, Chris, I think 100%. I think now it's just a matter of where does Kawhi end up? You know, what is Greg Popovich thinking? What is R.C. Buford thinking? And, you know, is it going to be Philly putting enough on the table to get a deal done to bring him that direction? You know, this Lakers development, I think, is very intriguing. The idea that even though Kawhi seemed to come out the gate saying that that was his preferred destination, that maybe LeBron going there, and this is a little counterintuitive, that maybe that changes the dynamic and maybe he's more interested in doing the Clippers or something of that nature. I think, you know, Kawhi is one of those old school competitors who wants to go at LeBron and not necessarily team up with him. But I do think the relationship between him and San Antonio is something that is just, you know, that fence is too tough to mend. They've tried. Pop tried to go out and sit down with them, and, you know, him and his group have made things extremely tough on San Antonio.
And it seems as if it's been too far gone for a while. Before the NBA draft and the start of free agency, we were saying the same thing. Now, Kawhi, still a member of the San Antonio Spurs. Will that change before the start of the 2018 season, or could we still be in the same loophole?
No, I'd be pretty surprised if he was wearing that silver and black by the time we got to training camp. You know, I do sense a pretty high level of urgency, not necessarily desperation, because, you know, listen, you continue to also hear that the Spurs are asking for a pretty good haul in return for Kawhi, and with good reason. This guy's an MVP candidate year in and year out. But, you know, I think that they know that the level of discomfort has reached a point where, you know, they're going to lose more and more leverage by the day. You can't think about bringing Kawhi into camp because, for one, you can't control how he handles that, and the optics would be terrible, and the price tag eventually is only going to get worse when it comes to what you can get back for a guy like Kawhi, just because of the nature of the relationship, because everybody in this league right now knows how tough of a time both sides are having with one another.
We've seen about 50 trade scenarios from the Lakers trying to land Kawhi Leonard. Of course, they landed LeBron and then made several other moves. Are they done yet, or do we expect this to continue throughout the offseason?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. You know, at first I thought they might give the entire, you know, the kitchen sink and the whole works to San Antonio for Kawhi. And to me, that would look like a Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, multiple first-round picks. And then maybe, I was told, even find a way to take some of the Spurs' bad money that they don't want and find a new home for it, likely with another team. And that's the kind of thing that might be too tough for San Antonio to turn down. Now, with LeBron coming to town, I think they have been told by him and his people that patience is okay. And it's a little bit surprising because he's 33 years old. You would think that time is of the essence. He doesn't want to waste any time and maybe in win now mode. But it does seem that he's somewhat open to going ahead and not wanting to lose some of these young players, these young assets, and go about it that way. So far, we've seen the moves they've made, and they're not doing things via trade to this point. They're just trying to build that roster in free agency.
We know what a LeBron James team looks like, okay? Shooters, and then LeBron's the primary ball handler. But when you look at this roster right now, Rondo, Lonzo, Lance, and then LeBron, I mean, there are just too many guys that seem like they have to handle the ball. Do you think that's an issue when you're looking at this roster going into the season? And could we see an overhaul at the trade deadline like we saw in Cleveland last year?
You know, I mean, I kind of love the idea that they've got multiple playmakers, and I did enjoy the story today that Brian Windhorst and Ramona Shelburne of ESPN had, where they essentially painted the picture of the idea that LeBron wanted this Lakers roster to be almost the inverse of the Cavs, and the way they build things. That he got tired of not having multiple playmakers. He got tired of not having guys who could defend. And the guys that you mentioned can do those things. They just can't shoot. And I feel like, you can't swing the pendulum too far in the other direction. And right now they have. I get it. You need playmakers. You need guys who can defend. Cleveland was 29th in defensive rating last season. That's just completely untenable. You got to fix that if you want this Lakers team to do anything. But you got to put the ball in the hole. And right now, the players we're talking about are routinely defended in a way where essentially it's 4-on-5 and you don't have to guard that guy because he can't knock down the open shot. And so I'm curious to see who they, go out and get. Brook Lopez did some good things for them. He's still out there on the open market. I think he would make some sense. They got to get guys who can shoot the ball. It doesn't need to be the way the Cavs were built, but I do think it has to be a little more balanced.
Certainly. Okay, moving on to Boogie. Before tearing his Achilles last year, he was having his best season as a pro. We can't expect him to be that kind of player when he returns, but what is he expected to be for the two-time defending champs when he returns?
Listen, I think it's a great deal for the Warriors because, first of all, we all know that part of being as successful as they are is you can't pass on the regular season. They learned that the hard way last year. They lost 10 out of the last 17 games, and they weren't sharp going into the playoffs. But the regular season is not the end-all, be-all. So they can wait for DeMarcus to get healthy. I know he told Mark Spears that he was going to be ready for training camp. That is incredibly optimistic. The Warriors are anticipating him not playing until December, January, somewhere around there. So you get him ready for the playoffs. You get a guy who, and I talked to the coaching staff about this, who almost plays like a much, much better version of the Andrew Bogut role from years past, where he would come in with the second unit to start the second quarter, be a playmaker, be a guy who, because of what DeMarcus can do, can punish opposing defenses and just stagger it in a way where whoever you're playing doesn't get a breath, for all 48 minutes. And I think, that's going to be really good for the Warriors. For DeMarcus, and I definitely wish him the best, I just hope that the health side continues to go the right direction. That Achilles injury is just brutal. And unfortunately, like the Elton Brand comp is the one that applies the most. And that's not a very favorable picture.
No, DeMarcus Cousins still just 27 years young. Hopefully he can come back from this devastating injury that has hurt a lot of people in their career. Sam, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Be good.
All right, Karan, so trust is typically a thing that the Spurs are great with in their organization, but somehow, some way, with their relationship with Kawhi Leonard, that went astray. What happened with the Spurs and Kawhi that we have this situation now that every day there's a different report of their relationship being broken?
Well, you talked about trust, and the things that jumped out off the screen at me was just the simple fact that, first of all, he was misdiagnosed. And that's a scary situation when you're a player because, that the doctor usually have the first obligation to the organization. And you would hope that it would be to the patient, but it's not normally that way. And then he seeked a second opinion. However, going through that process, trying to get healthy, trying to make himself available for the organization and the team, being the best version that he possibly can be. And then you have players speaking out about the injury, about it's not as bad as they say it is or he say it is and he should be out there playing. That's another slap in the face. And it's like, okay, I was trying to move forward. Now we regressed again. And it's like you're disturbing the momentum of anything with us having a happy ending.
Are the Spurs playing this too hard, trying to wait for the perfect trade? Because there are reports that the Lakers are offering so much to San Antonio. Are they going to get a better deal than they're getting from the Lakers?
They have the right carrot in Kawhi Leonard. We're talking about him. He's the hottest thing on the market right now. He's the carrot, and he's a finals MVP. He's a champion, one of the best two-way players in all of basketball. And when healthy, he's one of the top 5, 6 players out there in land. So you have to be patient and not jump the gun. And I think that any team is going to put together a very, very wealthy, qualified package to try to get him.
Well, the Lakers, again, the team that Kawhi said, hey, that's where I'm trying to go. Magic Johnson trying to make it happen. But let's say it doesn't happen. And you look at the Lakers' current roster, and the same thing I asked Sam, do they have enough shooters? I mean, their top 4 shooters are their young guys. And Josh Hart, and Kyle Kuzma, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, I mean, Brandon Ingram, these are their best percentage-wise shooters from the outside right now.
Well, they don't have enough shooters on the roster right now as assembled, but these guys have to grow up at a rapid pace, and looking forward to the next season for their growth, going through these adversity and trials and tribulations. Now you add LeBron to the fold. That becomes now. You have to be ready now for the moment. And I think KCP is a guy that's streaky. He can make shots. I think Alonzo Ball is much better. I think Josh Hart is a seasoned guy that understands the pace of the game and can make adjustments and can play off LeBron extremely well. Kyle Kuzma is the guy I think that will benefit the most playing with a guy like LeBron James.
Yeah, you mentioned Josh Hart, 38% from three-point range last year. So playing with LeBron James, clearly that might be a good combination and for Josh to have a great season. Okay, let's play Predict Future, and we're going to say this is the Lakers roster to start next season. How many games do they win?
Anywhere from 46 to 52. And I say LeBron is a plus 13 to 15 immediate change on the roster. And however, as I say that, I also would like to say this. He's the MVP of next season. Just because there's going to be instant impact, they're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to be somewhere between the 6th and the 8th seed in the Western Conference.
So in his 16th year in his career, when it seemed as if that MVP window closed, you're saying LeBron James is going to win it?
Because he's going to be the difference. He's going to be the headline in the story of the NBA all season long. Obviously, everybody knows that the Golden State Warriors is stacked. In the Western Conference, it's going to be, intriguing to watch them and DeMarcus Cousins getting healthy and inserting himself into that lineup, being the third splash brother, as they call him. But at the same time, everybody's eyes is going to be on the Los Angeles Lakers again. Showtime is definitely back with LeBron in the 16th season. So many questions about can he lead, and I think he's going to answer all those questions by getting them to the playoffs.
How many points a game is he going to average?
Over 25. I would say 25 plus points. I would say 6 plus rebounds, and obviously 5.5 to 6 assists a game. And you're going to see him out there available for more than 66 games this season.
Now, when you say those numbers, they sound great to me. But those are down from last season. He averaged 9 assists a game last year, career high there, career high in rebounds at over 8 a game. Actually, it's 8.6 the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying his numbers are going to go down, but he's going to win the MVP. That's just is it a perception thing?
Yeah, I think it really is because, you're held to a high standard when you're LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers dominating the Eastern Conference for so many years. But the Lakers, they haven't been to the playoffs since Kobe Achilles injury, since Dwight Howard was wearing the uniform. And now you get the reemergence of LeBron James with a different team, 16th season, amazing storylines, MVP.
Well, it's going to take us a few months until the season starts for the Los Angeles Lakers. Meanwhile, Los Angeles Sparks on the court against the Minnesota Lynx.
Kansas.
Hey, you remember Minnesota has won 3 of the last 5 WNBA championships. So, they're pretty good. They go inside. Sylvia Fowles gets buckets easy. How about Rebecca Brunson? Outside. That's what happens when you go inside and try to double and triple team, Karan.
What happens when you got a wet ball, man? Catch and shoot.
Candace Parker, we know what she can do from outside, knocking it home and then working on the baseline.
Ooh.
That's just a nice touch.
The way she pulled back, can't even take a picture. Quick release.
Minnesota ahead by 2 into the second quarter. Lynx pulling away. Maya Moore, 7 straight games with over 20 points. Looking to extend that to 8. And Sylvia Fowles inside that left hand. Just a thing of beauty. Danielle Robinson also working inside.
Good basketball right there.
History for Rebecca Brunson. Gets her 3,317th rebound. Becomes the all-time rebound leader in WNBA history.
We clapping in here.
We don't call that a game ball. We call that an all-time ball.
In the kiss.
The Lynx win 83-72. Looks like Maya Moore only with 8 points, 2 for 13 from the field. So that streak of 7 straight games scoring over 20 points comes to an end. But when you win, it all feels good.
That's all that matters. And she's from UConn. Bleed blue. Next game, watch out.
So there was also some Summer League action Lottery pick watch. Oh, Grayson Allen and Trae Young going after it.
Did he triple?
Didn't trip. He's not tripping tonight.